What does your favorite team need in the 2023 NFL Draft? Well, I'm Jason here, and I've got you covered. Today we're going to be going over the AFC team's draft needs. Tomorrow we'll be going over the NFC team draft needs. And let's just go ahead and dive right on into this. So up first we have the Baltimore Ravens, and they are in need of, we're using 3 positions for each team. I did use PFF for a little bit of help, but took some creative liberties here and there. So for the Baltimore Ravens, we have wide receiver, cornerback, and edge. They have no wide receiver help in that room. I mean, they need it big time, especially if they're going to try to lock up Lamar long term. And corners, yeah, you're going to need some extra help there. That's part of the reason why they did lose and blow so many big leads early on in the season. For the Buffalo Bills, we have offensive line, safety, and cornerback. And the offensive line for the Bills, pretty straightforward. The offensive line didn't do as great a job for Josh Allen whenever they needed to in the AFC divisional round. Meanwhile, and they really haven't done that well all season. Meanwhile, safety and corner, the defense can always use some bolstering here and there. You only have like one big name running or corner. You have maybe a big name safety. Not sure if you would consider some of them their safeties big names, but yeah, a little bit more help does not hurt there. For the Cincinnati Bengals, we have offensive line, defensive tackle, and corner. The offensive line, it's always been a wreck for the Bengals. They're trying to get better on it. They did play well against the Bills. They played decently well against the Chiefs, but did end up letting Burrow be on his back like 4 times on 4 sacks on the first 9 dropbacks. So the offensive line could always use some help. They don't really have a big star rusher, so defensive tackle, you could really use some help there. Those are the 2 biggest needs, I would say, for this team. And let's just move on. For the Cleveland Browns, we have wide receiver, defensive tackle, and safety. On the wide receiver front, you don't really have that many big names. I mean, everyone's career goes to Cleveland to die anymore. You have what? What's his name? The former Cowboy, you know who I'm talking about. Amari Cooper. That's about it. Yeah, and then you don't really have much on the defensive line. You have an aging Myles Garrett. You also have, I think, Jadeveon Clowney still there, but you could always use some extra help there. Have that second big rusher to help make that defensive line elite. And safety, yeah, they need help on defense. For the Denver Broncos, we have offensive line, defensive tackle, and linebacker. So these are pretty straightforward. Linebacker, you have a strong defense. Linebacker's a little bit of a weak spot. The offensive line, you need help. You need to have Russ have an offensive line to work for him. Otherwise, he struggles. And we saw some of that this year. But yeah, if you can fix those up, Broncos should be looking good. For the Houston Texans, we have quarterback, defensive tackle, and wide receiver. Quarterback being the big one. They kind of screwed themselves by getting the 2nd overall pick because the Bears are going to trade down with a team that is going to take a good quarterback. I think, CJ Stroud's the prize this year? Or Bryce Young, one of those 2. But either way, the Texans should end up with a good quarterback. And we'll have to see where they go with that. The Indianapolis Colts are needing a quarterback, tight end, and an offensive line. Quarterback, because they have been having a cycle of quarterbacks ever since Luck retired. Offensive line, you need that in order to help keep a quarterback playing well. And tight end, part of that offensive line, adds another offensive weapon. Those are the 3 biggest needs for the Colts. For the Jacksonville Jaguars, they have cornerback, safety, and offensive line as their biggest needs. If you can shore up that defense, get Trevor a little bit of help on the offensive line, this team will be elite. You don't really got a big name anywhere on either of those 3 fronts, so getting a new young guy in the draft would really be a huge help there. For the Kansas City Chiefs, you have defensive tackle, edge, and wide receiver. Wide receiver, you don't really got a big name fast wide receiver like you have with Tyreek Hill. And defensive tackle and edge, you don't really have a big rusher. You don't have a big rusher in your game. You're going to need that help. For the Los Angeles Chargers, you have offensive line, linebacker, and cornerback. You don't really have a strong name cornerback. Linebacker, you could use that extra help. Once again, who do you have that's a big name? It seemed to be a big weakness, both of those positions for the Chargers. And offensive line, I mean, the team relies too much on Justin Herbert's arm and abilities. An offensive line would help ease that a little bit more. For the Miami Dolphins, you have offensive line, cornerback, and tight end. And offensive line, I mean, you're going to need help. Tua went down way too much this year. So did Bridgewater. You're going to need that extra help on the offensive line. Tight end, you have Mike Gesicki, who might not even be a Dolphin after this year, I think. I think there's rumors that he's going to be going away in free agency or something. I know he's a free agent this year. And corner, you don't really have a big shutdown corner. Same deal there with other teams. They're going to need a corner. For the New England Patriots, you have edge, offensive line, and linebacker. You don't really have a big rushing game. You don't have a strong name rusher. You don't really have a big name linebacker since the time when they were a dynasty. You really are struggling there. You could use that extra help. but definitely offensive line's a big need. You need to give your quarterback time, whether it be Mac Jones or Bailey Zappi. I think they've settled in with Mac Jones, but you still need to give him some help because otherwise you're going to be screwed. You're not going to have a quarterback, and you are going to flounder. The New York Jets are in need of a quarterback, linebacker, and offensive tackle. Offensive tackle, you're going to need it. You have a strong team already. Build that offensive line up. Get in a good quarterback. They're probably going to target a veteran quarterback, but bring in a good quarterback, and you'll be elite. So those are your two biggest needs there, I would say, for the Jets. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, you have offensive line, cornerback, and linebacker. Offensive line's been an issue for years now in Pittsburgh. You're going to need a help on that offensive line in order to give Kenny Pickett time and the ability to do what he does best, and that is win you games. Meanwhile, you could use some help on the defensive side of the ball here and there, especially in the secondary. That's where you really have issues. So fixing up that secondary, building up the offensive line, and you'll be fine. And for the Tennessee Titans, it is wide receiver, offensive line, and edge are their three needs. Now, wide receiver, since A.J. Brown left, you haven't really had a big step-up wide receiver. And offensive line, your quarterbacks are struggling, and offensive line would at least help that a little bit more on top of what you already have. And edge, you don't really have a big edge rusher. I mean, you have Bud Dupree, and that's about it for your edge rushers in your defensive line. You could really use that extra help, get to the quarterback, generate pressure, and you'll be looking good. But I guess with that is our official draft or needs for the AFC teams heading into the offseason and into the draft. If you guys did like, don't forget to smash like and smash subscribe. If you made it this far, you probably enjoy the content. So why not go ahead and check out some of our other videos here. I'll go ahead and leave right around here the link to the video that I did talking about the 2023 free agency class and cycle, top 15 prospects, and where I think some of them will go, maybe filling some of these needs before the draft. And I guess with that, we will see you guys tomorrow for the NFC. Peace out and have a good one.